Hey, fourth grade, Mr. Freeman here, back for another edition of Quarantine Learning. This week we are diving into the DCPS packet week 5. Today's video will be over day 1, and we are still in our rocks and minerals unit. All right, so go ahead and grab your packet, whether that be the hard copy or maybe it's on your phone or you have it on your computer. Wherever it is, go ahead and grab it and let's dive in for today's lesson. All right, here we go. So the focus of today's lesson is going to be us learning new vocabulary words. These vocabulary words are going to appear in the text. And so today we're going to learn those vocabulary words and we're going to continue to write about rocks and minerals. 3 things that we'll need to do for today's activity. It's very similar to last week, actually. The first thing we're going to do is read the word and its definition. Secondly, we're going to examine the picture that they give us, and that's going to help us describe the meaning of the word. The last thing that we're going to do on this activity is we're going to answer the questions using the new word that we just learned. So once again, we're going to read the word and its definition, examine the picture, and then in the last column, there's going to be a question, and we're going to have to answer that question using the new word, okay? Here we go. All right, if you look at the bottom of our screen, the bottom of your packet on page 3, the first word that you see there is stage. Now, I know you're probably thinking, oh, like the stage where you perform. Not quite. All right, the definition of stage as it relates to rocks and minerals is actually a step in a process. So a stage is one step in a process. For example, in the picture here, you see that there are a row of people, and the people they look like they are different ages, right? So the sentence they give us here says, childhood is one stage of our human life. So just like the people that are represented here in the picture, they represent a different stage of our lives. And so the sentence says, childhood is one stage of our human life. In the last column, the question says, what stage of human life do you think is the best? So I said, I think the best stage of human life is childhood, because there are less responsibilities. So once again, I answer the question by saying, I think the best stage of human life is childhood because there are less responsibilities. All right, let's move on to the next word in our list. The next word is cycle. I know that everybody's heard this word. Cycle means an order of events that is repeated. Big clue there. It's an order of events that is repeated. In this unit specifically, we're going to be talking about the rock cycle, okay? So keep that definition in mind. It's going to be very, very important. In the third column, you see that they have provided us a picture of the water cycle. And the sentence here says, rain is part of the water cycle. Our question for this word says, do you think a cycle ends? Explain why or why not. So let's look back at the definition. The definition said that a cycle is an order of events that is repeated. So let's think about the question. Do you think a cycle ends? Explain why or why not. So if we think about that definition, what do you think? Do you think a cycle ends? You should have said no, and I'm going to tell you why. I said I do not think a cycle ends because once it reaches the last stage, it starts all over again, just like in the illustration. In the illustration, you see that there is no end. And the definition tells us that it is repeated. So whenever it reaches that last stage, it just starts right all over again. All right, the next word is erosion. Can you guys say that with me? Erosion. Excellent. So erosion is actually the wearing away of the Earth's surface by wind or water. Once again, erosion is the wearing away of the Earth's surface by wind or water. So that's the noun form of the word. If you want to turn that into a verb, the verb would just be erode. So if something erodes, it's wearing away. All right. The picture in the third column shows us, looks like a beach, and you see that the rain is coming down. And then there on that, I think that's a rock. You can see like little pieces of the rock kind of floating away or tearing away from the rock. The sentence there says, the rain caused the erosion of the hill. So when the rain started, parts of the hill started to wear away. So what is the result of erosion? The result of erosion is there being less of Earth's surface, just like there's less of the hill once it started raining. All right, our next word is deposit. Okay, deposit. Not like the check that comes in the bank account, kind of, but a deposit is to set down something. So for example, the rocks were deposited on the ocean floor. So that means that they were set down, they were kind of dropped off, right? So why do you think rocks are deposited by wind or water? Let's think really, really carefully about that question. We know that deposit means to kind of set down something or kind of drop it off, right? So why do you think rocks are deposited by wind or water? Let's think about those two things, wind and water. Why would they be responsible for depositing rocks? Well, if you think about it, what do wind and water both have in common? Yes, they both move, right? So I think that rocks are deposited by wind or water because they are both able to move and carry things from place to place. All right, next word is pressure. Everybody say that? Pressure. Excellent. So pressure is actually force, okay? For example, he put pressure on the door to close it. So think about when you close a door, you're putting pressure or you're putting force on that door. So when do you have to use pressure? Think about all of the other times in your life when you have to use pressure on something or you have to use force on something. Yep, I can see those light bulbs going off. For me, I said, I use pressure when I am writing with a pencil. Think about it. The pencil is used to apply pressure to the paper. So that's one time when I use pressure or force to complete a task, okay? All right, and our last word, I believe this is the last word, is constantly. Can everybody say that? Constantly, excellent. So if something is constantly happening, that means it is continuously or always happening, right? So it never stops. For example, in the third column here, we see a picture of Earth, and they provided this picture because the Earth is constantly changing. If you think about it, something on Earth is always constantly changing, okay? How are you constantly changing? Think about that for a second. How are you as a person constantly changing? Well, I think that I'm constantly changing by growing and learning new things every day. Same could apply to you. Every day you're growing, every day you're learning something new, right? So you are constantly changing. All right, and I think that's it for today. The next time I see you, we will be getting started on day 2. Make sure that you read the text before the next time you come back. All right. And I will see you guys tomorrow.